In this video, we're going to cover how to add metrics to your resume, but more importantly, why to add metrics to your resume. We're going to be using Alan's resume as we did in the previous video. We're going to be using Alan's resume for the next few videos. Let's zoom in on the About section, get a quick summary of Alan's skill set. Alan is a bold and responsible storyteller with a blend of skills in social media management, community management, and web management. One thing you'll notice when we go through Alan's resume is you're going to see a lot of numbers. Increase in engagement rate of 1,025% year over year, contributed to a 12% year over year increase, 100 plus pieces of high polished blog and video content. These are, for the purposes of this video, these are metrics. And these are illustrating the magnitude of what was done on the resume. Now, why are these important? Why are metrics important? Well, if you don't have metrics, it's leaving ambiguity to how important it is what you did, how much you did. And someone who's reading something that could be a very, very important bullet that doesn't have a metric might gloss over it and kind of think of it as more of a throwaway bullet. So let's see an example here. So this is the resume after I got involved when Alan and I worked together on it. Let's look at the original resume. Now this is Alan's original resume. And let's go to the bullet here. Here we go. Implemented the creation of social media strategy documents to be developed for each book project. I'm going to read that again. Implemented the creation of social media strategy documents to be developed for each book project. Now, if you didn't write this resume and you read this, this is pretty much the only context you have about this. You don't know anything else. And if I read this for the first time, I might gloss over this and kind of have it as be kind of a throwaway. But after I talked with Alan, and I sat with Alan, and I tried to quantify this with him, we tried to put a metric to the bullet, I realized how important this bullet is and how this isn't a throwaway bullet. This is a very important bullet. But when someone's reading this, if they're being inquisitive, they might ask themselves, okay, how many social media strategy documents? How many books? How many people were involved? But without any of that information, it's easy to be like, oh, okay, well, it looks like he added, he created a couple of documents, and that's interesting, and then you move on. But I'm going to read it one more time, and then I'm going to show you what the metric, what the bullet looks like now with the metric that we've added. So let me read it. Implemented the creation of social media strategy documents to be developed for each book project. Now here's what it looks like after we add the metric. Pioneered the development of social media strategy documents for book projects and trained 60 plus students via presentations and in-person consultations. Now, when I was asking Alan about how we can quantify this, and he said, I trained 60 plus students, the first thing I said was, well, how'd you train 60 plus students? He said, well, I did it via presentations and in-person consultations. I said, that's impressive, right? That is an impressive bullet. Because it's not just demonstrating that he created the documents, but it's also demonstrating his interpersonal ability to train others, his presentation ability. Having in-person consultations, that requires a certain level of interpersonal capabilities. And it's demonstrating that he's able to take information and then disseminate it out throughout, among others. So this is a really powerful bullet now because we quantified it. Let me give you another example. Now, this is a bullet that I don't believe I did anything with. It was already good as is. But let's read it together. Developed, launched, and promoted a Kickstarter campaign that raised over $31,000 for a book's publication. This number here, this $31,000, is crucial because it's demonstrating the impact that the campaign had. This isn't a campaign that raised $1 or $100 or $1,000. This raised $31,000. Now let's read the same bullet, but without this number. Developed, launched, and promoted a Kickstarter campaign for a book's publication. It'd be easy to just gloss over that, have it be a throwaway bullet if you're reading that as a hiring manager, and not realize how important it is. And maybe an inquisitive or a hiring manager who's really interested in this might ask, well, how much money did you raise? And then be impressed with the number. It could be that people will just gloss over it. So that's why you should add metrics. they remove ambiguity, and they communicate how much you did. Now let's talk about how to add some of these metrics. So one thing you can do, and this is where you need to get creative. When you have a bullet, and you're trying to think about how do I quantify the impact, one thing you can do is you can put in percentage increases, as we have here. Increase in engagement rate of 1,025% year over year contributed to a 12% year over year increase. That's going to give you an indication of that this made an improvement, and it's going to give more information on how much of an improvement. But what you can also do is you can just quantify how many times you did something. And this might be something that you maybe would never think about adding on a resume. But when we quantify how many times you did something, it shows how much experience you have. So created and edited 100 plus pieces of high polish blog and video content. Now this tells somebody, okay, this person did this a lot, right? So now it's unlikely that you're also building a resume with these same types of bullets. Like, it's just unlikely that you're also creating and editing high polished blog and video content. So what can you take away from this for your resume? Well, for your resume, if you have something that you did and you did it many times, put down how many times you did it. If you're a chef and you cooked meals, it's for a lot of customers, it's one thing to say, I cooked meals for customers. It's another thing to say, I cooked 100 plus meals for customers. Shows that you did it a lot. If you're a lawyer and you had cases, it's one thing to say, I litigated cases. It's another thing to say, I litigated 100 plus cases. It shows the amount of that you've done. If you were in an intern position, and let's say you gave presentations, it's one thing to say, I gave presentations. It's another thing to say, I gave 50 plus presentations up to the CEO level. And notice with that last one, you don't always have to quantify something with a metric. You can also do it by indicating the diversity of who was involved, or the rank of the person involved. So in that last example I used, up to CEO level is demonstrating the impact without actually giving a number. Let's do another example of something like this. So this bullet worked with legal, HR, and international offices to create a quarterly employee engagement contest. This is another one where we don't have a metric here, but what we are showing is the diversity of who is involved. Legal, HR, and international offices. That's quite a diverse group of different offices and different departments. So, whether you're describing like how high up the rank was of who you worked with, or the diversity of the different departments that you worked with, those are some ways to quantify what you did. Now, one thing I do want to call out, when it comes to things like money and specific metrics, be careful about sensitive information. This is something that you could ask your manager about, or maybe someone in HR, is that, someone who can help give you more information for your specific situation. But be careful when putting in money and putting in specific metrics that might be sensitive. One way you can accommodate this is you can hide some of the information in the number while still quantifying how it's a really big number. So for example, let's say that it's too sensitive for you to say that you generated $4.5 million for the company, but let's say that after seeking counsel from maybe your manager, maybe HR, let's say it's okay for you to say, I generated X million, or I generated X 100,000, or I improved metrics by X like 0.00%, right? So we know it's at least 100, but we don't know how much it is. By hiding some of these numbers, you're still able to show how big the number is. It's kind of like you're rounding in a way. So those are a couple ways about how to add metrics. Get creative, and whether it's identifying how many people are involved, like I led a group of 4 people, or it's I did something 100 times, or I increased revenue, or I increased metrics by a certain amount. Get creative and try to quantify what you did. Alan is one of a handful of people who have taken me up on the free resume and resume help and career coaching that I've been offering recently. This resume was used with Alan's permission. Thank you, Alan. If you're someone who needs help with your resume and career coaching, resume or career coaching, feel free to leave a comment on this video and I'll follow up. We're going to have more videos coming, especially for the next video, we're going to cover how to add metrics when you don't have metrics available. That's kind of a tough one, right? We're going to cover that in the next video. That'll be released next Wednesday, so don't forget to subscribe. And thanks for watching.